let's start off with
introductions.
Yeah, that's right. Introductions. I forgot. They don't know who we are. I'm used to my channel. So yeah. So I'm Tarnish. I have a YouTube channel. Been an avid World of Warcraft player and MMO player for a really long time, since middle school. Now 30 years old, so do the math. And after that, I guess I'll pass it off to Rick.
Hi guys, I am Rick Hayu. I am played a priest forever. I've been raiding since BC, so that's not the only MMO I've played. We definitely love to sample them all out, and as you guys definitely check out the channel and check out more things, you're going to see that we definitely have a lot to say about a lot of different things. But yeah, so definitely the healer's healer amongst the group, and the super raider and all that good stuff. So share that with Tarnish as well. And throw it over to Kana.
Hi, Kana, usually called Diewing on the internet. I'm special guest, I guess.
There you go, man. Yeah, so the MMO Avengers thing, the reason why we created this channel and this name particularly is because we feel like the MMO genre needs a lot of help. So you can see a lot of videos from us on this channel about trying to help the MMO community, the MMO creators. I feel like the ideas out there, the motivation's out there, the money's out there, but they keep making these mistakes. And I feel like we can help this dying community that everybody has been looking for heroes, it seems like. And as you see, Marvel Avengers seems to be a really cool name, and we thought they would really fit the theme here. So we will be the MMO Avengers to hopefully save the MMO community.
That's right, man. Let's do this, guys. Let's go. And we want you guys to kind of also be part of the team as well, with your comments, with your feedback, with your topics, your recommendations. So as we go through this, it's not just us. Well, you'll see that we'll have guests, Kana, of course, today, but we definitely want to make you a part of this as well. So I think we can save MMOs, we can save the community, but we really kind of need to band together and do this. So let's go ahead and get started. So classic WoW. I think that's where we're starting, right?
Yeah. And to hit on what Rick was saying, become an MMO Avenger, guys. Become an Avenger. MMOs need you.
That is right.
But yeah, it's classic WoW. So Rick and I and Kana actually all played classic for the majority of it. I think Rick made it all the way through max. I think me and Kana fell off around AQ 40 right at the end of that. But overall, our experiences, I think we should go over the pros, the cons, and then cater into TBC after that. You want to start, Rick, since you have the most classic experience?
Sure. So definitely had never done the whole 40-man experience. I had previously rated Burning Crusade all the way to current content. So stuck with retail, stuck with every expansion all the way through. So I did the full ride, pretty much every single tier. So I was really excited about Classic because I had heard all these stories about AQ and Nax and how hard Cthulhu was and Four Horsemen. So I had all these expectations of wow, all right, I really want to get this experience. And so it was kind of cool to get to relive that for the first time. Start off with 0 gold with everybody. I think one of the first things I did when I got to level 10, it was the first day, I ran to all four the major cities. I picked up the quest for RFC, and I was just selling the quests so that way people didn't have to walk to Thunderbluff. And
that was so smart, by the way. That was so smart.
And people were like, you have, but again, so people were tipping me silver, which was a big deal those first days. So I think I was I may have been the first one in the guild to get to a gold and 5 gold. And it was that was if you had a gold, that was a big deal. That was a very satisfying experience to just get to. I mean, we got to do it, right? So still am rating actually in Nax and pretty much geared out. Very few things I actually need. I still need the scepter off of I should be next off of KT, Kel'Thuzad. And we've had 4 drops, so we've have 4 healers, so I'm kind of come on guys, it's my turn now. But honestly, there's definitely some things to love about that experience, and there's some things I think Classic really lacked on. But I want to let the other guys talk about what they loved about Classic too, and then maybe we can talk about what we didn't like.
Oh, what about you, Connor? You want to hit that question next?
Sure.
What are the things that you enjoyed about Classic?
One of the things that I enjoyed, well, having the nostalgia factor, getting to raid some of these old bosses. I did actually play the original vanilla. I started playing World of Warcraft it was a little over a month when my first paid month was, about a month after the game came out. So I was near the very beginning, near the very start. I leveled my first toon very, very slowly. So my first raid experience was still Molten Core, but my guild that I was in, that I still hang out with on EVE Online, my first raiding, they were into BWL by the time I got to 60. It literally took months for me to level. And as you were touching on the gold thing at the very beginning, that was actually pretty fun. There was like the Assassin's Blade that goes for like hundreds of gold. It was on the auction house for like 15, 20 gold. So that was pretty cool. There was quite a bit that I enjoyed being able to actually get in touch to get a 5-man group going instead of just clicking on some dungeon queue, being thrown with random people, not speaking to each other, hoping you get the dungeon completed, not having one wipe and everyone leave. Just so yeah, there's a lot better with a tight-knit community. Actually getting to meet players and make new friends. I didn't. Most of my original vanilla guild chose not to play Classic, so I pretty much stuck out on my own. And the reading experience, I guess we'll talk about it in a little bit.
Yeah,
it was
in general, whatever you enjoyed.
I did enjoy it, but it was definitely completely different from my expectations. So I definitely enjoyed it, and that was the main reason I came back to Classic, was to do raiding. So kudos on dungeons and raiding.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I guess some of the things I enjoy, I'd say the absolute most fun I had in Classic was leveling up with Rick. It was such an adventure, especially with the big rush. Everybody was leveling up. Everything was hard. You had to think outside the box. You had to figure out when it was a good time to abandon the quest because it was too contested, and moving on to the next thing. And that was with a continent that was relatively huge with lots of starting areas. And it was yeah, we had little lines forming, and it was crazy.
That's true.
Yeah, so I remember I was waiting in line. I was like, "Screw this, let's get out of here." I was like, "Let's move on to the next one." So it was fun doing that. Dungeons at low level all the way up. I think you hit on the head there with the community and how you have to actually find people, figure out a way to get through the content. There's not as much of a give up. If you played retail and Classic, you can definitely see the difference there. One wipe, everyone leaves in retail. In Classic, you have a little bit of community, which is something that has been destroyed, and not just World of Warcraft, and a lot of MMOs, they don't support communities. So the community aspect was huge for me. Even now, I get on World of Warcraft, Classic, and I'll sit in a city and I'll have a conversation with somebody. That doesn't really happen that often in retail, where we have a conversation and I know I'm going to see that guy again. I'm going to see that guy again somewhere, sometime. I'm going to run into him again. You know what I mean? And there's so much, and you seem to have more generosity. You have more people feeling the obligation to be more generous because they know that I'm going to run into this guy again and he might pay it forward. So you might run into that same person. So it's one of the things I really enjoyed. Is I'd say overall it's community. The rating was a little bit of a letdown for me. I'm not going to lie, but I did enjoy rating. The world buffs were definitely something that was taking a lot of it from me. But the rating experience, seeing Molten Core, Black Green Layer, AQ, seeing the content was nostalgic. It was fun. But obviously there's a reason why I quit, right? So. And then I guess now we can transition into some of the things we did not like. And so I kind of already hit on a couple things. I know kind of started doing the same thing. The rating, I'm going to start to say the rating, the world buffs. Man, that sucked you dry quickly. It took the fun out of it. Even though it was fun to have world buffs, it was horrible to get them. And if you didn't have an organized guild that summoned you from spot to spot to spot, and you did as a huge team, world buffing was a complete chore. and not only that, but it locks you out of your character for so long. It was horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, so horrible. So I'd say world buffs are number one. I'm gonna try and pick three things here. So world buffs is my number one. Hated. Number two, I feel like the botting situation wasn't handled quickly and efficiently enough, so the economy got jacked up.
Yep.
On top of the fact that some of the loopholes of the players exploiting things combined with the botting, it just completely destroyed the economy. And then three, the raid content wasn't hard enough. They gave us the most nerfed versions on top of giving us the most powerful versions of our characters. So that combination made all the raid content easy. And I know even Nax isn't supposed to be easy. And honestly, I don't think it is. But it definitely, everything was way easier than I had expected.
Yeah.
And the clear times were just insanely quick. Like Nax was the hardest raid that we had, and it still got cleared in the first night. It was super clear, like super fast. A bunch of people speedrunning it. Speedrunning is still a thing in Nax. You know what I mean? So it just it was kind of a letdown on that aspect.
My things that I did not like are going to be pretty similar because being locked. Yeah, I'm a priest, so I don't really have a lot of, and I'm a healer, right? So I'm running around as this little holy, like I want to heal you, I want to res you. When I get jumped, like honestly, okay. Truth. This is a fact, and you can check any log, like Blizzard. Please do. I have never dispelled anybody's world buffs. If you don't know what I'm talking about, as a priest, I have a spell called Dispel that I can go ahead and click wipe and delete your world buffs. Not all of them, because like the city ones you don't do. But like you're traveling around the world, you're getting all these things. It sucks. So if you've played Retail, you've never played Classic, like you have to go to Dire Mall, pick up 3 there. Go to Songflower, get another one there. You have to go to Stranglethorn Vale, get the heart buff, and get the little Zanza. So you're running around the world. It is, truth be told, sucky. Now, if you have some guild that you have warlocks that can summon you to different places, and like that's great. Pretty much even guildies, they charge you, which at least my current guild, it was definitely nice having a supportive guild back in the day, which was like, because of Kana, Tarnish, and I, we were all in a guild, and we were getting those summons going. Not to the degree that I think, like we didn't have all the things like early on in the expansion and content, like ZG Island was not around yet, so we didn't do that yet. But it definitely helps to have that. So world buffing sucks. Number one, it is awful. And I am like, literally, there'll be like 50 people there, and I'm in the middle of the crowd, and who gets targeted? This guy. Like, it sucks. I'll hearth to Orgrimmar, I'll hide somewhere, they come and find me. So then having to buff 2-3 times just for one raid, and then I have to do it all over again for the next day because we're raiding 2 days. It was unbelievably, and I'm super supportive too, so I want to help you out. So when Tarnish mentioned it being locked out of your character, like I am buffed, I don't want to go through. I can't go through that hassle again. So that sucks. Number one, world buffs by far. Bots are number two. Literally, people are running these scripts and these bots, and nothing is being done about it. Like they are literally just going out there. They're picking up every flower, and like I literally ran into one where it was like on a little path and was kind of glitchy, where it's going, to a point, and then it turned really sharp, and it was avoiding mobs, and so I was like, "Are you serious? Like, how can this not be seen?" So I would, you can report people, but there really wasn't that support in Classic where people were really watching, and these guys just ran rampant, like they're all over the place. So I think that was an issue where the resources got harvested. Then they're selling things. It's just they mess up the economy. And that leads me to my third thing, the gold. Back then, there used to be a gold cap, and there was a reason there was a gold cap. You could not earn millions of gold. That wasn't a thing. In fact, in Burning Crusade, the gold cap was 10,000 gold. That is not, there was 0 gold. You could have 3 million. It was just through the gold cap. I don't think it was that high. But still, it's just not sustainable. So things kept getting more and more and more expensive. And so then you have to do more and more grinding. But there was no limit. So I think that was a mistake. And we're not getting into BC yet, but I think that is also a mistake, that you're going to let people take their fortunes into Burning Crusade. And there's some people who are very rich in Classic WoW who are going to hate me right now, but it is not good for the economy to have unlimited funds. There's a reason there's a gold cap, and that will totally wreck botters and people who are like running those scripts if there was a gold cap, because they can't have unlimited gold. So those are my three things: world buffs, spots, and the lack of a gold cap. Those are like the three big ones. And I agree that the raiding content was not what I was expecting, because I have seen very difficult raids. These were not the difficult raids that were described to me. Sure, there was some difficulty, but my guild, we were the first one on our server to do it. We have the fastest clear time currently. We're wrecking things, right? However, we had it cleared, I think, Sunday. So I think it came out Thursday, and then by Sunday we went back a second time, and we got it we got KT down. So it should not have been that easy. So I think that the difficulty would have been better to have. I mean, just give it a little bit harder. So what we're going to talk about,
that's our server. There's other servers that were just they got cleared.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like gone. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that was fun, guys. That's classic for you.
Yeah.
So, all right, kind of. What do you think?
Again, with the world buffs, that was
Sucks.
yeah. It's just it became a requirement to actually raid. Some of the bosses, if you wanted to down content with the guild that I was in, or still am in, it's called Nice. We were the first guild on our server that downed Patchwork with no world buffs. And it surprised me when I heard that, because I was like, wow, in order to actually kill this boss, everyone had to have world buffs. And the hassle you had to go through to get everything, to be locked in world buff jail, to be terrified of running into a priest and having everything dispelled after you paid money to get summoned here to pay for the buffs, or just be randomly ganked by a rogue.
I'll be honest,
that was not fun.
That's way more kudos than I think being the first to clear it with no world buffs. That is cloutful, dude. Like, damn.
I mean, sure, we technically wiped on them 6 times first, but then we'd already lost our world buffs earlier, and we were just like, well, let's just throw what we have at this guy and see how it goes. And yeah, it was the 7th try, but we got him. And then when someone mentioned it in what was it, looking for group chat or trade chat or something, and everyone was going, oh, no way, the casuals actually killed Patchwork without world buffs. No one's done that yet. And there's another guy in Nax, Lothab. Oh my gosh, our guild wouldn't even try. If we didn't have world buffs, we would not even try to fight him. It was literally that much of a disaster without world buffs. And I was just like, that 40 people all having to go out, make sure they get their stuff, be locked in the jail, coming in, having all their buffs, making sure everyone has food, resistances, everything has to be perfect. And if it doesn't go right, everything doesn't go right on try number 1, we were done with that boss for at least that night. And I was just like, well, this kind of kills the raiding experience, and we're not even going to try. And then there was other situations where we bring world buffs in, and it's a nuke fest. We bring all our world buffs, all our consumables. We come in and we slaughter a dungeon in an hour and a half. One that I like to go through and enjoy the content, have fun, and it's just get it down as fast as we can so we can go to the next thing. And we're like, can I not at least enjoy the nostalgia of getting to raid this stuff again? And it's like, if you don't have world buffs, you're wasting our time. And I'm like, well, some of us have lives and jobs outside the game, and I try to spend as much time in the game as I can. I kind of did a COVID isolation quarantine thing, but just having that requirement added into the game, and the fact that, again, as you said, we were the strongest characters versus the weakest or the bosses.
Mm-hmm.
If you had world buffs, you either knew the fight and you nuked it, or you wiped once and everyone just gave up, and that was not fun. So that's kind of 1 and 2 for me.
Mm-hmm.
The third that I was not really liking, I did want to do some classic PvP. I'm not a big PvPer in this game, but I did want to do some classic PvP. And I personally am a fan of Alternate Valerie. AV was, again, major nostalgia for me. And the fact that I would have to get into a 2.5 hour queue to play one game that would basically have one of two scenarios. A, we would just nuke it out in 20 minutes, or B, it would be another 2.5 hour game before I could get into another game. And it was just going back and forth. Nobody was organized. It was stuck in one spot, people throwing bodies at each other. There was no coordination, no strategy, nothing. It wasn't even honor kill farming, because you get enough kills on the same person, you don't get honor points anymore. And it became pointless. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm banging my head against the wall, and it wasn't satisfying. So that's my thing.
Yeah, it's safe to say that we now experience classic, and we all experience vanilla, and you truly appreciate the vanilla experience because you'll never experience that again.
Yeah.
Some of that nostalgia that we were all hoping to get, we didn't get there really cheap because we realized that min-max culture is now the mainstream culture, and it kind of will ruin a lot of things. Combining with PvP there, the reason why, well, I'll tell you, back in the day, AVs used to be a day or two thing. Where the same battle would go on for multiple days, and the queues were always about an hour. I used to come home from school, jump in queue for AV, and that was, again, my favorite as well. And I liked it because it was this huge, endless battle. For me, I was a meathead. I was a warrior. I loved it. Charge in there, my big old axe, and chop people up. That was all about it. And going up on top of, like, I think it's SF Graveyard. I think you ain't even supposed to get it anymore. You look over the battle and you just see people fighting everywhere. It was just glorious. And yeah, it doesn't really happen anymore. It's very rare. Usually it's a turtle or a zerg, and if you do get a good battle, it's still a zerg, or AB has been killed by the culture, not so much the battleground itself. We got a couple good ones in the beginning, back when everyone needed the rep for the ring, and that was pretty cool. Yeah, well, that was classic. I think we see the pros and cons of classic, and we still got pretty bad. But we're now going into TBC. I'm not sure if you guys have kept up with some of the hot topics. I know drums is a big one. The shop, the mounts, the toys. We went from no changes with classic, where we kind of realized we needed some, like it was inevitable, and now we're going into TBC saying some changes, and it seems like since we said some changes, I think they took some as in, all right, kick the door in and let's go hard as we can. So full speed ahead. In case you guys don't know, so drums we have right now, we don't know exactly. Obviously, it's still in beta, but TBC is supposed to have 2 sets of drums. One that is 8 yards, 1 charge, and a greater drum, which is 40 yards. Don't know if it affects group or raid, but and the greater one has 50 charges. What would you guys like to see done with the drums? Would you like changes, no changes, or just get rid of them? Like, what do you guys want to think about when you think about drums? Do you want to go through the drums and have 20 leatherworkers in a raid group in order to maintain all the buffs? As we saw with classic, we know the min-max culture is going to be a thing, so we know this is going to be legit. Like, we'll probably have 20 leatherworkers in the group to get a min-max culture, just like with world buffs. Do we want drums, and how do we want them to work? I guess we'll start with you, Rick.
I got to do BC back in the day, so I definitely know the importance of drums. Just getting those, like, just like, let's go, like, just that. I mean, again, for a healer, I'm not really affected by that, right? I'm going to be in a group that's not going to probably have a leatherworker. We're probably going to be mostly tailors and maybe enchanters, maybe herbalists. I don't know. So healers is not going to be, I think, as important. But for DPS and warriors, I think having 20 leatherworkers is. I think that's a bit excessive, right? It would definitely be cool if you didn't need 8 yards. I think it would be. I mean, I don't mind if there was like 5 to 10 leatherworkers. But see, here's the thing, right? So here's what I love crafting in any MMO I play. Like for me, I am the crafter. I love crafting. Crafting, like someone's talking about an MMO. I'm like, tell me about the crafting. It's a good crafting. Like that's just something I know. So even like upcoming games, whether it be New World or AOC, or I'm like very like I'll go ahead and I'll study and I'll deep dive and I'll try to figure out what's going on with the crafting. So I love crafting. Crafting is awesome. All right, but if you're going to make leatherworking that significant where we need to have leatherworking, if tailoring is that important where I'm forced to be a freaking tailor, which I really don't want to be a tailor, because besides bags and making my own gear, and making the cloth, and I have to go now. I have herbalists, so I have to have multiple tunes just to maintain my tailoring. Because so I really would not. I'd rather not have to do all this, but I'm stuck. If you're gonna make this where it's just now, this is a chore where I have to like do it, blacksmiths, tailors, and leatherworkers. Those are the big three, right? And you can put jewel crafters in that thing. Then make those trades freaking awesome. Like make me so I have. You know what I would love if I was if there's a blacksmith. Why can't a blacksmith repair other people's gear? A tailor repair cloth gear? That would be an advantage. Like that would be cool. You get a discount on repairing your own gear because I'm a tailor. I can fix I can patch my. See, if you're gonna make something that we have to have 20 leather workers, then let the leather workers have a big advantage. Am I for some changes? Yes, because it would be cool to have the trades actually valuable and important. And if you go to retail, you go to modern day WoW, I mean, trades have just been so watered down in most MMOs. They're not really important. They're not really valuable. No one is special. Nothing is unique. You have the same recipes out there. There's no customization. It would be so cool if a leather worker could tint his, gear red or blue or green. Not have to go to some transmogrifier, but like they have control over their leather gear. Like that would be so cool. Like so I am down for changes like that where it's like, if I'm going to be forced to have these little drums and I have to have drums, then geez, let me have the opportunity to do some cool things. So I am definitely for some changes. As far as I think what should the drums be? I think that's the topic. I really think that it should be whole raid. And if not, if you're going to make it difficult, where it has to be an 8-yard thing, and we have to have a ton of these little leatherworkers, then make leatherworking awesome. If you want to make it hard, then make leatherworking awesome. Make tailoring awesome. So I don't mind the difficulty, and I don't mind the suckiness if there's lots of perks and advantages to it. I think we're going to get into the shop and the mounts thing, but I definitely have stuff to say about that. But let's throw it over to Kana to talk about drums.
So with the drums, I think that the changes necessary are really just changing from bind on pickup to bind on equip, just allowing other people to use it. I think this would be better for maybe even some other professions as well. Instead of having only this class or this profession can use it and have the level all the way to max to get this absolutely necessary item and then drop the profession and get another one, level it all the way to max, and then have like a dead profession just to have an item enhanced. I would like to see some of that stuff that's profession only to be allowed to change so that everyone has an opportunity to use it. So it's just not this one profession. And yes, get a markup on cost. Like really make it more important to say, okay, this person leveled up enchanting and they have the enchanting for your rings, and they're gonna maybe even make it cost a little more or have add a cooldown or something to it, so you can only do it ever so often, and then you had to pay a solid gold tip to the person who leveled the profession, who put in the time and effort to get that, and then to get it onto you. They can still give it to you, but it's their effort to do that. And like with the drums, for me, the drums are kind of like the new world buffs. It's just going to become necessary for everyone to have it. But if the workers could make it bind on equip instead of bind on pickup, or not bind on equip, it's just make it so that everyone can use them, but level the workers make it. Then you can have maybe an alt tune make your drums, or even a guild tune make the drums for everyone, and then just pay or tip the person who's giving you the drums, and you just make it part of your part of your rotation. But making it the current changes, making it so only leatherworkers can do it, and you have to get near max profession, and then you have to hold on to that profession, and then you have to now gather as it's only party wide for the moment. As we understand it, it's party wide only for the moment, and you have to be within 8 yards. And Blizzard's excuse was they wanted to bring back the nostalgia of having teamwork with a drums rotation of everyone working together. That's not nostalgia. That's us banging our heads into the wall.
Can I kind of mention something pretty cool? I think if we were to change it from BOP to BOE, there is a way that you can still make leatherworking valuable. So maybe if a leatherworker uses the drums, maybe it's 5% better or 2% better or something small. So hey, I'm a leatherworker, you want me to do it, but it would be cool if anybody could do it, if it was like a bind on equip, but it's not going to be as effective. And then what you would see is strategy where which part of the fight are we going to have the leatherworker use the drums. And so we want leather workers, and there are going to be some guilds who are like, no, we must have a leather worker do that. But then you can have some guilds like, you know what, you don't have to be a leather worker. I guess we're not going to have that 2% increase. But that would be, I think, one way to solve it is just like give the person with the actual trade who actually is wielding it, maybe just give them a little perk for using it. But I think that's a solution. So Connor, you kind of brought that idea to mind when you were talking. So that was kind of, yeah.
Yeah. It looks like I just got a notification on my phone. Blizzard completely backpedals on drums, so there's likely going to be different from what we're talking about right now. So I just hit my phone right now. So I'm not going to look into to figure out exactly what it is. I'm sure we'll all know about it after the show. But I like the bind on pickup and bind on equip change. I think that could help solve some of it. But the reality is, I do see the drums becoming more like world buffs, and in order to prevent that from happening, I think we should do that for sure. Make it a bind on equip, but then on top of that, I think we should also give it a steroid, make it better for leatherworkers to use, and then also potentially only work for leatherworkers, and also maybe actual cooldown debuff on players, just like in Wrath and going forward. That prevented a lot of things from being broken. Because right now, what you can do with the leatherworking drums is you can literally chain them between everyone in the raid group and maintain all these different types of drum buffs. So you can have movement speed, you can have attack power, you can have spell power, you can have, I don't know what the rest of them are, but the spell haste. So you have all these different buffs you can keep up with drums. So cycle between all of them, and they make them 8 yards. Everyone's trying to stack up, get the buff, spread back out. It just I don't know. Although I can definitely see the strategy and the fun of having a strategy with the drums, I don't want to see world buffs repeated. So bind on equip, although that would solve the issue of having everyone have to go leatherworking, I think it would still bring the problem of world buffs. Two, one of my cons with Classic was the raids not being hard enough. So if everybody was using drums, all these different drums stack become more powerful so they could take on these raids. Taking those away could make the raids harder. So I'm kind of all for either taking the drums out, make them only good for leatherworkers themselves, or something along those lines. However, I don't want to see. Well, I don't want to feel people to be pressured in order to use leatherworking and have 20 leatherworkers. But let's be honest, if we don't have 20 leatherworkers, it's going to be 20 engineers. And everyone's going to sabotage everything like they did in Classic.
That's true.
Or it's going to be 20 enchanters. Or it's going to be 20. Everyone's going to go to the next thing, right? So this is where I think if you keep it creative, but change it. So maybe it's still good to have it, right? Have leather, rogues, shamans, hunters, all the big parsers go leatherworking because it gives them a steroid. Not so much for the whole raid. It gives them a steroid, which allows them to still want to do it. right? So people are going leatherworking not because the raid needs, not because you're being required by the raid leader because it's so good, but because you want to do it because you want to perform at a higher level. And even then, I think they should probably nerf down the effects a little bit so it's not as drastic. I don't want, like I said, I don't want to see a world buff meta go in with leatherworking and drums because that really kills it. It's like if you're a rogue and you just want to parse, it is pretty much impossible unless you get world buffs. And if you get drums coming in the way they are, you're not gonna be able to parse unless you have drums. So it's kind of a problem. I want people to be able to just go to raid, bring their baseline consumables, and enjoy life. So maybe it just affects you and you carry the drum that you need for your class, make it a consumable versus a world buff, I think is the best way to go. So bind on equip and make it so it only affects you. That's just my opinion.
Cool.
And maybe also add a sated buff as well so that you can only receive a drum effect once every so often.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I say. I want the cooldown, the debuff because that's huge. Otherwise, you're just spamming them over and over again. All right, I've already hit attack power. Now I'm gonna hit my attack speed haste one, and now I'm gonna hit my movement speed one. It's like no. You can pick one and you get a debuff. So it makes you think a little bit. Maybe it's attack power, maybe it's haste, depending on what you are. So with that being said, we just hit the drums. That's one of the biggest topics right now, which is still a hot topic, still being changed. I'm sure it's going to continue to change. Let's talk about something positive now, because we just talked about something negative. What was your guys' fondest memory from TBC? Let's start with you, Rick. I know you played a lot of TBC.
Yeah, so I ran around with a lot of, like, back then, I'm going to be very honest, I was raiding with people who were much better than me. I had no idea what raiding was even about. And so the problem was back then, raiding, there was these things called attunements. So you cannot go into Black Temple unless you have done, a quest where you got something off of SSC's Last Boss Lady Vash. You got something off of, Kael'thas and Tempest Keep. And so you had to, you get these quests, and then you had to go to Highjaw, which is another one, clear Highjaw. You have to do all of that just to make it into Black Temple, where it's Illidan Storm Rage, man. Like, it's Illidan. Okay. So everyone wants to go there, but it's so much work, and these raids, were brutal. Serpent Shrine Cavern, Lady Vash, there was so much stuff going on. And Karazhan was really my first raid. And Karazhan, back then, that was cool too. That was a great first raid to be exposed to. Really fun. And when
Chess
they redid
battle.
it, wait, what was that?
Chess battle.
Oh yeah, it's a chess battle. Good stuff. And honestly, when it was redone, I liked the original better than the redone one. If you guys there's two entrances into Karazhan. You can go still experience them both, but it was a fun thing. I liked Karazhan a lot. Tough. So my first time into Karazhan, I was in this nothing guild. I don't even think we had the guild leader wasn't even 60 at the time. But that community, the importance of having a guild, I think that's one thing. The Burning Crusade, and even Classic, that community is wonderful. That's one of the things I loved. You needed your crew. You needed your group. And a guild, man, there was leveling. They would help you. They were supportive. They gave you information. Someone would stop what they're doing. They would take you there and show you. And I'm like, I can't find it. And there was this little acorn on the ground. There was no sparklies to let you know where it was. You just had to that tiny thing. Oh, these hoof prints. Oh, I had to turn my camera vertically up and oh, okay, that's that. Okay, all right. So it was definitely a better community than we have in retail. I think what happened as the expansions continued, is the importance of guilds just faded. And you didn't need. Oh, now we have Raid Finder. I think Raid Finder is one of the biggest mistakes that WoW could have ever done. I don't need a raid. I don't need a guild. I can just do everything on my own. And I think for some players, you know what? Maybe that works for them, but it just killed the community and killed the guilds. Kana mentioned going out and getting a group in vanilla, getting 5 guys and getting a group and you're actually talking to people. That community definitely was very present in Burning Crusade, and you needed that community because you had these attunements. So raiding, I mean, you had to have a group. You could not do it. I do think 25-man raids is a lot more manageable. So I think that's another positive and perk. I think 40-man, that's a lot of people to kind of coordinate. So I think the drop in raid size, I think that's a good move. So I think a lot of guilds who really struggled and trying to get that to that 40, 25 is going to be a much more manageable number. You're going to be running at some bosses 6 to 8 healers. You can probably get that down to 5. My guild back then, we eventually got it down to 4. We were raiding with 4, but it was such a high-end guild. We were 4th on our server. We had the number 1 guild in the world on our server. It was just a very competitive server. And like some of the guys I raided with, they would burn out. I mean, they would literally be in the number 1 guild, and they're trying to stop all these European guys from taking the title. I mean, they all they did was raid. Like, that was all they did. They would get burned out, and they would drop down to our guild, and would clear all content in 3 or 4 hours. And then they would hang out with us for a few months, and then would go back to the number 1 guild. It was kind of just like a resting ground, and it's very, very competitive. Like, we raided like 25 hours, like on the number 11 guild, but we were so good, we were doing it all 3 or 4 hours. So you can get to that point where you're that good, even back then. You just get the gear and you do it all. But that sense of community was really cool. Just advancing, progressing along was fun. The storyline I love that. If you're,
No, you just disappeared.
oh, I fell off my my flight here. So hold on. Yes, I'm in the grass. Hold on, I'm gonna jump on my mount. Whew. Okay, I'm back. All right.
He talks about getting ganked. He even gets ganked on freaking video. I know that.
It's true. Like, literally, I'm my current guild right now. They're all like, it's almost become a meme. Not quite, but it's like I actually joked with one of our tanks because he got banged out. I was like, "Man, you're the new Rikayu," and he was like, "That's low." And I was like, "Thanks." That gave it back right at me. But yeah, so TBC was really, really cool. I think. I think that you're gonna, if for those of you who really want to experience it, really kind of looking at it, you're gonna find a group of friends, find a guild. You could just have a leveling guild and just kind of go in, and there's gonna be leveling guilds. People are gonna be taking it slow. Then you can go to a raiding guild, and they're gonna need bodies. They're gonna need people, and
So
it's
what was
definitely
your
cool.
what was the one thing that you liked about TBC? Rating?
What's the one I love? I love the rating, absolutely. And I honestly, I didn't experience a lot of the PvP. I think I want to try out more of PvP this time around, but I absolutely want to go do the rating. And
What was one of your fun memories that you have from TBC?
I think just walking into the room with Illidan, and he's like kneeling over in the like he's kneeling over there, and we didn't even know if like proximity, if we were gonna like trigger him, so we were like, because there wasn't this like streaming thing back then, like, well, hey, we're gonna show you. Like, people were very private about their strategies, so guilds did not it's like everybody was just like doing their own things, like especially the top guilds. Again, there was a lot of competition between guilds back then because they wanted to have that number 1 shot. So just seeing Illidan, and like we were kind of like, well, does he pull? And so then
I imagine doing that, and especially if it was like the current content, probably been pretty cool.
yeah, and then you have to talk to a comma, right? But we were kind of like, if someone's like, oh, I can talk to, like, someone's like, don't, like, he totally knew, like, he knew, but he's like, don't talk to him, get away from him. And so we're like, so then like it was just. And then seeing Illidan turn like 70 feet tall, and you have your shadow tank, and then like it was definitely, if you've never seen the fight, then he throws his glaives, and these fire elementals coming up, and you have to be standing on the grate, and it was just, and then suddenly, and I don't want to spoil the whole fight, but other things happen where suddenly like the fighting stops, and you're like, what's happening? It's just such an amazing experience. If you going back now and killing it, he just dies. But seeing it and like working through and progressing through this character that you've always seen,
he's pretty iconic.
Yeah, it was that.
What about you, Kana? What was your one moment or one thing that you liked about TBC that you remember?
I beam left, I beam right. No, sorry. Oh, just one moment, huh?
That's a hard one.
Oh. Well, I do remember.
Rick went on a paragraph there for, I don't know, long on tangent. So
memories, man.
Somewhat brief. You know what I mean?
I do remember the final moment of what's the guy's name? Last guy of
Kill
Tempest
Jaden?
Keep.
Oh,
Killed
Kill
no,
Kel'Thas.
Gildas, yeah.
Yeah.
When he just shatters the room and turns it into zero gravity. Spoiler, sorry. And he's just kind of floating around like, what do we do? Or him summoning all the legendary weapons. You're like, oh, I get to equip this. It's like, oh, I don't get to keep this.
Yeah.
There's a lot. Of course, flying mounts. That was something that I really liked. Being able to just kind of go anywhere, just feeling the freedom. Um, Having the introduction of heroic dungeons. This was a new thing at the time, and just clearing normal dungeon on level 7, going back and seeing like the level 60 intro dungeon and then doing it on level 70 heroic. I'm like, I wonder how this is going to be. You get to the first boss and the tank practically dies in 2 seconds. You're like, oh, this is oh. It's like, hey, we're all dead. So that was a lot of fun. Again, Black Temple, I remember that so much because I was in my hardcore raiding guild. I could tell you almost anything about Black Temple. I remember so much about it. I believe I mentioned this to Tarnish the other night about one of the bosses, about the Shiraz. Has one of the simplest mechanics in the game that nobody can get right. It is literally teleports 3 people, puts a debuff on them, they're damaging each other. All you have to do is each person runs in a different direction. That's it. You do that, you get far enough away, you're untethered, the debuff goes away. And there was even an add-on.
So, some people would follow you. They'd be like, get away.
There was even an add-on that gave an arrow, so each person would have an arrow pointing in a different direction. And they still messed it up. All 3 of them would go the same direction. So one of them followed the arrow correctly, 2 of them didn't. And it's like, how do you mess this up?
Were you Alliance?
It up today in retail,
were you Alliance? Were you Alliance or Horde back then, Kana?
I was Alliance.
Okay, did you guys have a gnome or a dwarf tank?
I believe we had a human tank.
Okay. If there was a gnome or dwarf tank on that, the boss was too tall. They had to drink a noggin frogger to be tall enough. Otherwise, the boss couldn't hit them because they were so short. It was good memories.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we had a human tank. I know my real life best friend who got me into this game was a druid tank. So.
All right.
And then, of course, there was also me. I was a night elf tank. We won't mention that.
Hey, 1% agility, man.
Give you something, dodge, right? I mean, yeah. For me, my experience is actually completely different. I was pretty avid in PvP and vanilla and in TBC. So I started, and not to mention I was very young still. So in TBC, I started off. I went through the portal. That was really cool, seeing everyone flood through the gates, fighting people, constant PvP. I was having a blast until I realized that I wasn't top of the food chain anymore as a warrior, and that warlocks were now top of the food chain. And I got wrecked by warlocks left and right. Warlocks are kicking my butt. And so my story really starts off with the most memorable moment is probably getting wrecked by warlocks in TBC, which is not a positive thing. And then I say the most fun thing I remember from the TBC was probably the first time I started raiding, which was at the end of TBC. I joined some guild, started tanking for them, and seeing some of those raid fights. I think Kel'Thas kicked our butts. I remember that one specifically. I had no idea what I was doing back then. Horrible player, but had a blast doing it. I think that's it for that. Now that you hit something positive, let's go back into the changes and see something that we might not, or maybe we do like. I'm not sure. 58 boost is a really hot topic right now. So with the 58 boost, there's a couple streamers, YouTubers have different opinions. So some people think we should get rid of the 58 boost and bring back Recruiter Friend. And the reason why there is negative stigma around the 58 boost is because of the broken economy, which we've touched on already, combined with botters and stuff like that. I think the 58 boost didn't give everybody a free 58, which I think it is going to cost money, so it's going to cost something. So I don't think it's just going to be free, but every account will get one. That is what they currently have the plan to do. It could change. Everything is subject to change. There's also talk of trying to push for fresh servers, so that you can't start with all this gold. You have to start all the way from scratch. What do you think is the best course of action, Rikayu?
I am against the 58 boost. I am against the recruit a friend. Um, it's easy enough. It honestly is easy enough. The reason I played vanilla is because I wanted the challenge. And then when I got there, it was like, oh, this raid is actually really easy. Okay. I mean, and we made preparations, man. Like, we had healing assignments, and we had lists, and we had best in slot things, so people weren't rolling on things. Like, we were so freaking organized. Like, we literally had spreadsheets upon spreadsheets, and it was kind of like, I think what Tarnish said, the word was underwhelming, and you're just gonna make this. We didn't have any. So I think the whole hashtag changes, no changes. I don't think you need to make it any easier. I don't think it should definitely be easier for people, like for bots. If you're gonna do it, then can you please kick the bots? Can you like actually monitor and police this? And oh, it's a bot, gone. Like, can you please, or is it just like we're gonna give this to you and then good luck, figure it out, guys? So I definitely am against
So
all that.
what about the players who? Because the whole reason this is even a thing is because there's a portion of people who had no drive to play vanilla or classic, so they don't care to level 1 to 60. I think it takes way too long. They don't want to do it. But as for TBC, they were all about TBC, and TBC is technically level 60 to 70. So which is why they brought this up, so that you don't have to worry about if you really don't want to, experience 1 through 60. You don't have to. You get the 158 boost. What would you say to those players who don't want to level 1 to 60, but
Well,
want to experience
okay.
TBC and go through the portal with
I,
everybody?
I didn't play during vanilla, right? So that was something. That's why I wanted to go back. I didn't have access to it. I leveled during BC, right? So if you want the BC full experience, then level during BC. You know what you did? You had a guild. And that also, I think I heard a streamer mention that by giving someone a free 58 and being able to buy 58, basically Blizzard is taking the money. And now what ends up happening is instead of a mage or a warlock or a priest, I used to like take people through dungeons. I used to help people out. That's what guildies were for. We literally had our guild leader who would just like take you through. There was leveling guilds, and so you join a leveling guild, go and meet people, go talk to people, go hang out with people, enjoy the community, because that's what BC was about. It was about community. And you know what? If you just want this instant character and you want to be a rating, then you're not going to be satisfied. That's going to be the player who's like going to get to 60 or 70 and be like, "Ah," and then they're going to quit. Why are
Yeah,
we
it makes
trying?
sense. Makes
Well, yeah.
sense.
Why are we trying to please that? So no.
Yeah. All right. I definitely respect that opinion. What about you, Connor? What do you think about the 58 boost?
I personally don't have any problem with the current format of the 58 boost. What you get is a level 58. The character you get, it can't be with the current format. It can't be the new race. It can't be the new class to your specific faction. You get a character that has absolute garbage gear. You have the normal level 40, which will become level 30 mount. You don't have the epic mount. And it literally just gives you a starting point where you can skip classic and go straight into Burning Crusade. And it is a literal start from zero for Burning Crusade. You only get one per account. And again, there's lots of restrictions on it. If you completely skipped out on classic, I think it's a good thing to have. I mean, yes, it is going to cost money to purchase. And I think that will help against the bots a little bit, because it makes it a lot bigger of a risk if you get your account and you have to purchase a higher level tune to farm up and make gold with. If you get banned, you're looking at a net loss of money instead of gaining. So it's a little bit riskier for bots rather than just leveling up a free account.
Yeah, I personally don't know
With
if
no
bots will
investment.
even. I don't know if they'll even engage in that. They make money without even having to put any effort into it at all. Why would they spend
Right.
money in order to try and make more money? It makes no sense when they could just do what they're doing already. How these scripts said like things are already leveling, which is
Yeah.
why I think the recruiter friend thing is a really bad argument to replace this, because they're gonna use those bot algorithms. They're gonna have 6 different bots leveling
Yep.
6 different characters. They're gonna manipulate. They're gonna have so many damn bots. So this
Yeah.
recruiter friend was completely ridiculous. Sorry, stay safe. That is silly. No, like no. And then if I remember correctly, because I did recruit a friend back in the day, for every I want to say 2 levels you level up with recruit a friend, you get 1 level to grant another character.
Yeah. Yep.
So I remember dancing in Burl, and I was just getting leveled up like 30 times. I remember all the people on Burl going, "What the heck is going on here? This guy's hacking." And I'm like, "No, I'm a GM." And they're like, "No, what the heck?" And I'm like, "I have secrets. Like, give me all your gold, and I'll tell you the secret." And then once they gave me all their gold, I told them, "Oh, it's recruit a friend, dude. Go recruit a friend." And they're like, "What? That's it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's it, dude." So because most people didn't realize the grant a level feature was there, and no one realized that. So a lot of people did the recruiter friend, but they didn't know you have to grant levels. So, yeah, that was really fun. That was fun. But anyways, recruiter friend is horrible. I'm torn on the 58 boost. I definitely see where Rick's going with it. It's not necessary. It is part of the adventure, anyways. But at the same time, I could see myself being that player. Say I didn't play Classic. I think Classic is horrible, but I think BC is going to be way better. And I come back, I want to play with all my friends, but now I got to catch up, and then just to go through the portal, you know what I mean? I want to go through the portal with my friends, and I'm already going to be this weak potato that they're going to have to carry. And now you're going to
Well,
make me level all the way up to get there. It's just like, man, like it's
See,
kind of horrible.
but
So
you've already chosen to be a paladin, though. On the
Correct.
court side.
Exactly. Paladins have to level up anyway. So you know what? Why don't you level up with a friend? They're going to be a paladin. Almost everyone's going to want a paladin. Let's be honest. How many new paladins are there going to be? So you want to play a druid?
Yeah.
Great. A paladin and a druid. You guys
we play
will glow
Horde,
up.
by the way.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
horde players here.
and well, Alliance, they're gonna want if they're gonna want shamans. I mean, so you're leveling up your shaman, then great. Then level up with a friend. I mean, I think it's that community that this is gonna be subtracting from, and it's also gonna be crowding Outland faster. So you have people coming in, and now they're out in Outland. It basically the old world Azeroth. There's gonna be nothing going on. A lot of people will start playing in BC, but you level. You're playing an MMO. What do? You level. That's what an MMO is for.
There's a lot of things that gets people. It's intended for Outland or for the regular content to be completely Ghostland. They literally give you almost everything you need in TBC, so you don't have to go back except for the mats. So there's literally different versions or upgraded versions of other potions that you'll still need. You get it all from Outland. There's really no reason to go back unless you're leveling professions, or specific things that you might want. I've actually listened to some other content creators talk about how they created TBC so you didn't have to go back. So the thing is, it is going to be very crowded. I get that, but I think what you kind of convinced me a little bit was with the whole. They're going to give us pre-patch. They're going to give us a pre-patch. How long that pre-patch is really what's going to convince me or not. If the pre-patch is really short, then I think they should do the 58 boosts in order so those players can come back and just play with their friends. Right. When I talk about MMOs and the improvements they need to do, I tell them they need to be able to access the content. Right. It's one of the big things for community. If the community has too hard of a time accessing the content, which the content really in the older MMOs is the community. If you can't access the community because you're so low level and it's going to take you 2 weeks before you can even play with the community, a lot of people aren't going to do that. They're going to just quit somewhere along the line, especially with Classic. That level up grind is pretty significant. It's nothing to frown at. That's a significant amount of time, level from 1 to 60. So I know there's an XP nerf in there, so I think 30 to 40 is easier.
Yeah, they make it easier.
But it's still a grind. You know what I mean? Like so. If they give us a long enough free patch where people could easily, comfortably grind that up, like I'm talking like a month and a half, then I could see not giving 58 boost. But if they don't give a long pre-patch, I think the 58 boost is kind of necessary so that people can grind up their characters and play with their friends. Like I think everybody should be able to go out when the portal opens. I think everyone should have the capability of walking through that portal to play with everybody, because that is what you want people to do.
What was the original pre-patch for before the original. The original was like 3 weeks.
I legitimately don't even remember.
That's a good question.
I don't even remember. That's a good question, though. But because of the changes they're doing, which I think are good changes, they're giving both side paladins the seals. They're giving everyone chances. Because one of the worst parts of being a paladin on Horde side, kind of wanted to be a paladin, but I did not be a paladin for this very specific reason. You had to level up all the way up before you go to the portal. I'm like, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm going through that portal with my friends. So I ended up playing my warrior, even though I wanted to play a paladin. And I stuck to a warrior for all of TBC because of that, actually. I didn't get my paladin made up until the end of TBC.
It's funny you mentioned that because I also, on the Alliance side, when I was in original Burning Crusade, with the original launch, I made a Duranai shaman, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. I get to play a shaman. And I'm level 1, and everyone else were trying to get the 70 as fast as possible, start doing high-end content. I got my shaman to 10 and never played it again.
Okay, I'll tell you what, though. The Draenei area is, there's no one there. It's abandoned. It's actually very efficient. Everything's very far away. So as far as time-wise, it actually is not the most efficient area. So it's actually even slower leveling than other areas. You're like, I have to go where?
I actually love the area.
It's pretty.
Spread out.
It's pretty, but really just time-wise, it takes a little bit longer. But
yeah,
Blood Up area was pretty good too.
Yeah, Blood Up area actually is really good for leveling up. I know a lot of people are talking about that. I think, anyways, let's move on to the next topic. Let's get more into the nitty gritty. Let's talk a little bit more positive though, because it seems like that was controversial. What's something you would like to
we're
see?
negative people. We don't talk about positive unless we're
So, what would you guys like to see added to TBC? A function or anything added that is positive you think will help the community? That'd be a positive change. Let's start with the rig.
Besides the drums.
Besides what?
Besides the drums.
Yeah, a positive change.
Okay. I don't think there's not guild banks yet in TBC, right?
Yes, there is.
Oh, there is. Okay. So a guild. Okay, so I think just making the guild so I love the idea of having the guild bank. I did not mind like the instant mail between guildies. I think those little perks like that are cool. So I wouldn't mind, and I realize that stuff comes later, and I know there's purists out there, but I don't think that breaks the game. I also don't think things like if you can transmogrify your character, that's just how you look.
Rick. You only get one.
Okay, well that's that. Those are you get 3.
All right, go ahead, Connor. What do you want to add?
I would probably say something that gets added in later that I would have liked to see in Burning Crusade would be achievements.
It comes at the end, yeah.
Just getting the ability to
make love, not Warcraft.
Yeah, just having that accomplishment to say, "Hey, I did that," and go like, "No, give me a gear check. Show me what you did." I'm like, well, I did it. I'm sure we wiped 5 or 6 times, so we did it.
Yeah.
Achievements. I think it brought in the perfectionist into the game where, okay, I want to get all of this done and prove I am the best at this. And also some of the rewards that go with it. There was
cool titles, pets,
mounts. Yeah.
I agree with both. I think those are both really good additions. Achievements and then guild perks. And then I think they should add dual spec. I really do. Dual spec is just quality of life change. Yeah. What's the big deal? Let it, especially for healers and for tanks, let us be able to kill stuff easily if we want to. Let us switch over to a DPS spec. And then raiding, especially if we're gonna make it harder. Like I said, if we want to make things harder, we're already taking away world buffs. They had world buffs back in the day, and they used to work. And the world first kills, they did use ZG buff and Dragon Slayer. So when they use these world buffs, we're taking those away. We're taking away other things. We're gonna make the content harder. We're giving us pre-nerf versions of the boss. Give us dual spec. I don't think that's too much to ask for.
I just thought of that. I don't know. I'm coming with a 4th. Sorry, guys. It was kind of cool to have your pets not take up spots in your bags and your mounts, because having all these bank slots to mounts, a bit of a pain. So that would be kind of cool. Like that. And again, that doesn't break the game. It's just quality of life. It's like, oh, I got it. And just I think that's a kind of a cool thing too.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's another good one. They should definitely do that as well. Okay, that was a fun one. I think it was overly positive. So I guess the next topic would be what was I going to talk about before?
You're going to talk about the purchases for mounts and
That's right. So yeah, so we have the purchases. So they data mined a mount and I believe some toys, and I think they're talking about making a deluxe version of the game, which comes with the 58 boost. So if you buy the 58 boost, you're not only getting the 58 boost, you're getting the deluxe version of the game, which gives you a mount and these toys. Everyone's hoping that these items are for retail and not classic, but it could be classic. So what are your thoughts on if it is in classic and if it's not in classic? What are your opinions on it, Rick?
Well, I think I must be the little bit more purist in the community because I don't like that there's a freaking 58 boost. If you give a amount, honestly, there's people who do not want to play classic, but I honestly think there's probably more classic players right now than retail players. I don't know the exact stats, but just roaming around the community, so I still play both sides. I mean, I don't do a lot of retail, but I'm still going in there and I'm still like maintaining. And I'm still doing that with friends and all that stuff, but it's just kind of desolate. And I'm on Illidan, like I'm literally playing on Illidan as Horde, #1 Horde server, and I'm like, where's everybody at? There's not a lot of action going on. So I really, um, if you guys want to give a pet, I think that's going to really enrage people who play retail. Because then, you know what? If they're really upset, then okay, let them have a chance to buy it. So that way they don't have to buy the 58 game. Maybe they can buy the pet. If you really want to give us a pet, cool. Because we definitely did not get the opportunity when I bought the Burning Crusade Special Edition. It came with a pet. When I bought, or if you did buy the original World of Warcraft Special Edition, it came with a pet. So people had pets. So I don't think that was exclusive, but maybe just give that option for retail people to buy that separate in the store. And maybe that's how they can resolve it.
What about you, Kana?
I've got a bit of a mixed opinion on the pets and mounts. On the one hand, I do kind of like the idea because I think it'll help bring in some retail players into the Burning Crusade and to help increase the population. More players, better content, better experience. On the other hand, I think it might be a bit of a slippery slope and kind of throw in, okay, well, now you can also purchase. You're just going to throw the whole Blizzard purchase store up there. You can buy all these pets, all these mounts. Here's your raid finder. Here's your purchase a token to buy gold, and just collapses from there.
Yeah, if it's for retail players, it helps me be a little more okay with it and not so much classic. If it has anything to do with classic and there's new mounts now that look way better than any other mount in the game, or if there's pets that just look really cool, no, I don't want any of that. Let's keep classic and keep retail. Retail's messed up, has all its issues. Let it keep that. Let us keep going now with our classic experience, because the reason why people are coming back to these classic, classic TBC and classic Wrath, the reason people are going to flock to these is because the game wasn't completely broken at this point. The game was still good. It was still had all the wonderful elements of it. I don't want to ruin that with the shop. The shop is one of the biggest issues, I think, with retail. So let's keep the shop away from classic. So with that, the next topic would be, what do you guys feel? Because since we're talking kind of about the shop, what would you guys feel about faction transfers and server transfers? I think you can still server transfer. I think Elite server transferred, but faction changing, that would be a new thing. They're not, you typically right now, I don't think you can do that. So if you can't do a faction change, and now if you switch it in TBC where you can and you can order it, people are worried about the faction balance, because in retail the faction balance is really bad.
Well, I just want to say first off, you definitely convinced me on the shop thing. I didn't want the shop. I'm enjoying the experience. Keep the shop out. I also think that it's going to apply to the faction changes. I had a Horde Priest at level 70 and an Alliance Priest at level 70. I rated on both. I leveled them all the way up to 80, and I rated Alliance and Horde. And then I think it was Wrath when they actually created so you could actually switch. And then eventually I just had 2 Horde Priests, and people were like, "Why do you have 2 Horde Priests?" I'm like, because one of them was Alliance and now he's Horde. But honestly, no, I keep the purity of it. I really don't make it easy with this. If you want to play vanilla, if you want to play classic, if you want to play BC, like it's not supposed to be easy. Go play another game. Like it is supposed to be a challenge and a little bit more effort, and that's what made the original game, and that's why so many people flock to the original game. I'm definitely more of a purist. I say no.
What about you, Ghana?
Again, I'm a bit of a mixed opinion. On the one hand, if you have some new friends that you know from outside the game come in and start playing on a different server or a different faction, and you want to join them, but you don't want to surrender playing on your current character that you've been playing for X amount of time on, you've spent all that effort on it, and going to join, if you're a Horde player like us, on one server, and you have to go he starts over completely new just to join some other friends. That kind of sucks. So I do think that having a server and a faction transfer is not necessarily a bad thing, but that also, I think it opens up a window to other problems. So again, mixed opinions.
For me, I think the 58 boost, that's where that 58 boost comes in handy again. If you have friends joining, they're on this server, they're playing Alliance, you're playing Horde. It allows you, the 58 boost allows you to at least start up without having to completely start all over again. So you can boost a character if you're choosing. Obviously, there's restrictions. But say you're going to stick to your same character, you can then at that point use the 58 boost to boost the similar character on their server and start playing with them. Obviously, you get 1 per account, so obviously it has to be a big deal. But at the same time, for the faction change, now that in hindsight, looking back over the years, faction swapping was actually a really bad thing. I think it's what caused the faction imbalance to continue to get worse. Is that so? I think going forward, especially the min-max culture, I'm afraid of it. I don't want the Rune Classic by having everyone be Horde. There's already a huge faction imbalance as it is. If you give faction transfers an option, people are just gonna transfer over, and the alliance will be a ghost town.
Yeah. And I think again messes up the community because if you want to like level up in Horde, like there's established, you're gonna have basically 2 clashes of 2 cultures. So you used to kill me, and now you're on the Horde, and it's just level up a character, just level up, or use a 58
Yeah.
boost.
Earn it.
I like that. Yeah.
Earn it. So the 58 boosts, like I said, 1 per account. Those reasons are the reason why I'm okay with having it, but I don't want to have any pets, mounts, titles, anything like that attached to it. It should purely be retail if it is going to be that things. And even then, I'm still not going to like it because that's not what Classic is about. It's not about buying things or cosmetic that are cool. It's not what Classic DBC is about at all. So it's about what you earn with what you seek with the community that you team up with, and that is what Classic, TBC, Wrath, and Vanilla are is about what you earn through being part of a team, a committed team, and just grouping up. And I mean, we all have friends from Wrath, TBC, and Vanilla till this day. I don't have that many retail friends. I have a few, but then again, I ran an older school guild, or the old school guild was the way the people kept defining my guild because I used to force them to play together. So it's a little weird. So I guess the next topic. So we talked about the mounts, the drums. I guess the next thing would have to be looking for group. I heard a streamer talk about it. He said it's not in the game yet, but there is rumors of it entering TBC, having a group finder, and possibly linking up with battle groups. That's a nasty one. What are your opinions on that, Rick?
Very simply, that. Seriously? No group finder. I'm gonna keep it short. No group finder. Absolutely not. I can go long. I've been going long on everything, so just no group finder. I could talk all day on that one, so I'm just gonna say no.
Yeah. What about you, Kana? Yeah. No.
I would definitely be against the group finder. Part of the classic experience is the community. I think it's a big part of it, and the group finder would absolutely kill it. It'd just be an absolute murder to the community.
Hmm.
Again, I am for trying to get retail people into classic. I'm very much for that, but with group finder, that's definitely a step too far. Murdering the community is absolutely not something I want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be unanimous there. Obviously, I've been against Group Finder, even in retail. I wish they would get rid of it.
Hmm.
That and looking for raid. But at the same time, I'm not sure we even want retail players, to be honest with you. I question who plays retail these days. I really do. I play retail, obviously, in Legion. I quit at Cataclysm looking for raid join, what became a thing, and I don't know who plays retail anymore. I don't know. Like, it seems like you play for a month or two and then you're gone. You play for a month or two and then you're gone. The consistency of the game has really fallen off and keeps getting worse.
Super flaky
That's
players.
that's been me. That's been me. Play for a month. The new expansion comes out. I buy it. I say, I'll give it a try. It looks interesting. I play for a month or so. Nah, back to something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if we even want them, to be honest. I think they should try it. And if you're a retail player, this isn't a dig at you. Come try Classic. See what the game started as. And then play TBC and see the improvements. Now, they may change and mess it all up, so they could ruin it. So maybe not. But hopefully they don't mess it up and you can see a TBC. TBC is the pinnacle of it. And even in Wrath,
Hmm.
I feel like TBC, they made one or two mistakes. Wrath, they made one or two mistakes. The hardcore mistakes really happened after Wrath. Looking for raid, the group finder, all these things started. The flaws of these systems just got worse over time, and that's why the World of Warcraft game is starting to die. It has been dying since honestly about Cataclysm. So I would encourage a retail player to come try TBC, and when Wrath comes out, I think you get hooked at TBC if you do it right. I
Oh
think you'll
yeah.
be hooked, and I think you'll be hooked, and I think you'll play through all of Wrath. I think you'll love Wrath, and then I think Cataclysm. I think you'll like it. If you haven't played Cataclysm, I think you'll like it. But I think towards the end of it, you're gonna realize why people started to leave the game. Um, I mean, people left. I think mid Cataclysm. I think
Classic.
pretty much. Yeah, I think a lot of people left towards the end of Cataclysm. So I mean, but you'll definitely see what made this game so great in TBC and Wrath. With that, I think the next topic we kind of touched on it already, but it's with what is you guys' opinions on fresh servers? Like starting a fresh server where you have to go there and start from level 1 and get all the way back up to max.
Starting from zero.
I mean, for the Burning Crusade.
Yes, they're fresh servers.
Okay, only if because the same things are going to happen, right? If it's unlimited money, unlimited, basically you're going to have some people who don't care about leveling, don't care about. They're just going to run a script. They're going to run around picking up herbs, they're auto leveling, going through dungeons. If they don't fix that, then all those issues are going to follow those new servers. So I don't think the new server is the issue. I do like the idea of, oh wow, okay, I actually can start, because you heard that experience I told you about earlier where I was like figuring out how to make money when there was no money to be made. That was fun and it was kind of cool, and you're like trying to guess which items are going to be valuable, and it was a cool experience, and boy did I miss the boat on some items. Like I had no idea what were those bracers called that all the warriors needed to have, like the +7
Oh,
to
yeah, they had the Lionheart helmet and they had the what is
Edge
it called?
Masters.
Edge
Oh
Masters, yeah.
yeah. I mean, those were going for like 200 to 400 gold, and that went up to like 4,000 gold. But you see, and that is so crazy because my knowledge of the game when I was playing it with the Burning Crusade was 10,000 was the gold cap, and we used to sell bears, like Armani War Bears, because that's what my guild did. We used to sell them for 5K. We literally asked for half of your total gold, like 50% of your gold. So like today in WoW, if let's say it's 10 million, we ask for 5 million of your gold to get this bear. We're going to run and clear this for you. That's insane. And now it's just like people are spending 4,000 on Edge Masters. That's where I had no concept that it was going to grow to that exponential scale. Like, oh, these items are going to
Yeah.
become.
I think the big reason why people are pushing for it, and it's not a huge portion, there's a lot of people that are attached to the characters, but and even me, I would have a hard time But at the same time, there's a part of me that's like, that fresh server is going to be fun. It's going to be fun. You're going to, first of all, the portal is going to be as chaotic. And then two, the economy will be reset.
Yeah.
You have no gold there. There's no bots right now. And the bots are going to start from zero, just like the rest of us. So who's going to generate the money? It's going to be players. Players grinding trash, paladins grinding dungeons. It's those players got to grind actual gold like we did in the beginning. Me pickpocketing. Remember my road pickpocketing BRD?
BRD, yeah.
We were making gold. We had to literally grind gold. We were grinding gold because there's no gold. So the economy will be completely reset, which is why people are pushing for it. And it'll be a complete fresh experience. And there's no people with 10 alts that are ready to make a bunch of bolts or whatever, or mooncloth, whatever they can. All these characters aren't prepped, so you're going to start from level 1. So that whole economy that's going to blow up even more isn't a thing on a fresh server. So the reason why they're pushing is because it's going to give you a full reset. It's going to be a fresh experience, and then you're going to have to grind all the way up to 60 and then up to 70. So, jeez, like, some people are fast leveling and some people are not. So, so I don't know. I'm kind of torn on it. Like I said, part of me likes the idea of it, and part of me doesn't want to give up what I've already earned and achieved. What do you think, Kana?
I keep saying this, but I kind of split opinions again. On the one hand, I think fresh start servers should mostly be just for classic. When we have the Burning Crusade actually come out, I think there's going to be some people that choose to say, I'm only going to stay on the vanilla classic. I don't want to have anything to do with the new expansion. I want to just do the original stuff. And I think fresh start servers would be best for those. Excuse me. On the other hand, an interesting idea would be a fresh start server specific for Burning Crusade, and you have an option to start a character at level 58. So you would basically be a fresh start Burning Crusade server. So you would basically go straight into the new content. That is my opinion.
I think so. The only thing, so I like that idea. It would suck because one of the reasons I have been raiding in Nax for all these months is because I know that if I get my Blue Dragon trinket and certain pieces of my gear, my Cloak of Suture ring and different pieces of gear, blah, 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 I'm going to be replacing that in Heroics, maybe even carry that all the way to G4. So there are certain things that I'm like, I've worked my butt off in Nax to keep these things down. What I think would be cool is you can transfer your character can transfer as a 58. You keep all your gear that you have equipped, but you start off at 0 gold or something. I don't know, maybe not 0 gold, or just say there's a certain amount of gold cap that you can take, but just some sort of where I don't know, but it would just be.
The next topic is going to be, what do you guys think about the gold cap, or having a cap on gold, or not being able to take any gold and items with you into TBC?
That's kind of still a fresh start.
But you have your gear. You get your gear at least. Makes GDKP, whatever, way more entertaining because everyone's actually going there and dump their gold.
Yeah, they're like, I'm not going to be able to take my gold, so I'm going to bid, there's people who are literally buying hearts and like on my server for like 2,000, like a rend for 2,000. I'm like, how do you have that much gold to throw around? I mean, for a one-time buff that you're probably going to get killed with or dispel. It's just I'm like, okay. So it's just like, it's crazy. If people can throw, that's why I think, it would be kind of cool to, we made a mistake. Just admit it. We understand. We made a mistake. There should have been a gold cap. What were we thinking? The gold cap is 10,000 gold in TBC. Period. That.
How would you solve it? How would you solve the gold, the economy issue in general right now? Between everyone having a bunch of characters and combined with the fact that everyone's geared and combined with the fact that everybody has a bunch of gold. So how would you solve and make it fun for TBC?
I think the practical thing is we're going to transfer everybody who wants to go to TBC, and you're going to transfer a certain amount of gold. You get to keep all your gear. Sorry, you don't get to take anything in your bags. And again, that would suck because I have been buying things that I think that are going to be valuable later. Or maybe I don't know. Maybe you can transfer your 16 slot bag worth of stuff. So that's all you get, or just some sort of limit. I mean, there's gonna be people who hate me. They're gonna be like, "No," but I think there needs to be some sort of limit. So, and I'm not so hard. You guys are probably gonna sway me on the loot and the gear, but I think the gold is the issue. It's a gold cap and how much gold you can take in.
I think that would kind of throw an economy into anarchy, as some people would buy. You know, they would buy gold outside the game, spend it on something like Edge Masters, and then bring that with them into the economy, and then say, okay, selling Edge Masters 4,000 gold, whatever, and then they would be the ones having a massive advantage. They would literally fill their bags with BOE epics after buying gold, and then they have just huge monopoly on gold in the market.
Yeah, so that's where I think just the amount of gold is important. But again, if we're talking about a Burning Crusade server, so like as far as it's a 70 is the new cap, right? That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are able to brainstorm and do whatever solutions you think will fix it. You know, my honest opinion after, like, if the decision was mine, hey, Tarnish, you're in charge, fix this problem. I would say fresh TBC servers. That's all you get. You know,
Wow.
Good luck, enjoy. Start from level 1 and get your ass all the way up to set level 70, and that would give everyone the same experience we did when we first started with Classic.
It was
so
cool.
All the people who
Paladin.
Yeah, but we'll have paladins, right? So it would be cool because, first of all, you don't feel pressure to play a certain class. You can play whatever you actually want to play.
That's a cool.
And then 2, you can level up with your friends again, right? It's gonna be faster this time, obviously. And then I think that that makes people who want to come from retail or whatever, who want to try it out, they don't feel behind now because everyone's at level 1, right? So that would be my decision. However, you know me, I've already prepared for TBC.
Yeah, I have prepared.
I already have gold. I'm trying to stack myself decent prepared. But if I knew that was the case,
just you'd enjoy the game as it is and whatever. But actually, I think if they announce that, some people would just be like, "Oh, I'm not going to continue." But here's what you could do. Let's say that there was a title on that TBC guild for getting to the max level character, so you can be like, you know, some sort of title that you get because, oh, well, you maxed up the level. Oh, you cleared certain dungeons, like, you know, Avenger of Naxxramas, or, you know, whatever this title. So that would be kind of cool. So Kanda would get his titles or his achievements in there. So you still would have a reason, because when achievements came in the Burning Crusade, what you end up happening is every old raid, you were looking at even the top guilds in the server. Everyone wanted to get those achievements like as soon as they could, because I guess the date mattered. So like I had an Armani Warbear in my bag. So like literally from that first day, poof, I have this like achievement from like literally day 1 of achievements. I think it was 10/4 of 2007. I think that was a date.
sure.
But at any rate, I can go on and I can check. However, the point being is that was that a ton of people started signing, a ton of people started doing things. So if those achievements would carry into TBC, you would see the classic community. A ton of people would come back. They would be playing. They would want to go ahead and run all these old things so they can get the achievements and have bragging rights, because a title above my head is not going to break the TBC server. So roll out achievements. That keeps classic going. Everyone's wanting to run things, clear things, get those titles.
I want the class-specific server first level 70 back.
That'd be
and
cool.
Not only that, but because we now have all the exploits fixed. Remember, because all the people are running raids and leveling through raid bugs. So they have a raid, go into a dungeon, get way more experience than they're supposed to. Now that that's all fixed, they can't do that. It means you have to legitimately know what you're doing to level all the way up to max. And if they actually nerf all the little exploits so that you have to legitimately do it, that'd be really cool. That'd be really cool in order for them to get all the way up max, get 70, and actually get an achievement or maybe even a cool title like first something. You know, have the first generation or some kind of cool title that makes you look cool. That'd just be really cool. So people having a want to get to 70 quick, because they get that first one up there, they get something really cool. And then 2, we've reset the economy. Everyone's experiencing what we experienced with Classic, which was honestly the most fun.
It was fun.
An entire expansion. So reliving the most fun moment for me in Classic is leveling up and then going through the grind, having people everywhere, and trying to think about intelligently how we're going to quest, and bouncing back and forth between this area and that area, so we're the right levels, so we can do it quickly and efficiently, and then dodge these players while we do this, and then dodge them to come when we come back over here, and then PvP being rampant, and being my rogue and just globaling everybody who mess with you, Rick. It was so much fun, you know.
Yeah.
And then I still remember that group and Older Man. They ganked you, and you're like, you're
Yes.
mad. You're
Yeah.
like, get him. And I went in there and I killed all 5 of them. I'll never forget that one, man. That was excellent one. So reliving that,
Yeah.
the funnest part of vanilla. Then experiencing TBC, going through the dark portal with not as crazy of a population, I think is going to help.
It would
Which means
spread the
we might not
population
be-
out. Yeah.
We wouldn't be forced to be in dungeons and grinding, because right now, even if the experience sucks, we're going to be grinding dungeons, because grabbing those mob tags and those items is going to be insane.
Yeah.
Like I said before,
Well-
our starting area in Classic, we had like 5 starting areas, and it was already insane. Can you imagine one little, like, 2 spots you can go to?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
what are we going to do?
I think that dungeon grinding is far more efficient in Burning Crusade than questing as well. The only problem you have is that you miss out on some reputation in the factions.
Well, right now, the current things I've been looking at is, I think right now is looking like you're going to go into Hellfire and Blood Furnace. If you do Blood Furnace, you want to do Blood Furnace. And then you're going to come out once you max out your rep. And then you're going to do all the quests in Hellfire, because you have to get that rep. Not to mention, right now, the experience is all messed up. So the experience is starting to get fixed last time I heard.
They have beta experience right now. They've said that they've reduced it just so you can get basically beta test the whole area. So they dropped the experience dramatically from
okay. So
mobs and dungeons.
The experience was messed up for a day. They were telling us like, "Oh man, this is gonna be rough." And then, so I don't know, maybe they didn't know that, or maybe that was intentional, or maybe they got the algorithm wrong. So the XP boost was messed up. It looked like it got better yesterday, so they're saying it's much more reasonable. And then if you add in
they're trying to get people up to higher levels, and they're basically trying to beta test zones and such. At least that's what I'm understanding.
Okay, so it makes sense. So dungeons is gonna be one of the main ways to go. I'm sure it's gonna be fine on XP, but even if it isn't, what you're gonna end up doing is you're gonna be clearing the dungeon, going back, doing the areas, and then going to the next dungeon, and then doing the dungeon in that area, then doing the quest, and then going, because you want to get the rep as high as possible, and then leveling as best you can. But with so many people, that's what makes me good. If it's just as popular as Classic was in TBC, which I think it's gonna be more, it's gonna be absolutely insane. It is going to be insane. I think it's going to be insane for weeks. I think we're going to be insane for a good month. And not only that, I think the PvP is going to be off the chain the entire time. I don't think we're going to be able to go anywhere and not get screwed with by somebody. So, bring your A game. I was like, and I'm not a rogue no more, so I'm a little nervous. So I was like, I'll be a freaking paladin, man. Hopefully I'm able to smash everybody.
Paladins are great.
Well, hopefully I'm not running around with my prot spec the whole time getting pooped on.
Oh, that's funny. I'll be there to yes. You're like Shield Hearth, Bubble Hearth. Bye. I'll be back on in.
Bubble Hearth is gonna be my go-to.
29 minutes when it's 30 minutes for your bubble, right? 30 minutes. 30 minutes. Yeah.
I have no idea.
Throw a shield bubble hearth. Yeah.
It's like, all right.
Experience.
Okay, later, guys. Yeah.
All right, so I guess the next part would actually be what versions of the raid bosses you guys want to do. I was supposed to write notes on this, and I totally forgot. If you guys happen to know which bosses and the versions and they changed,
Sure.
I'm trying to remember what the bosses. I didn't raid too much in TBC, so the names don't just come to me.
Sure.
I had to look them up. So there was different versions of bosses, and I know some of them, the mechanics were one. They were either nerfs, so the nerfs can be pre-nerf, but some of them were the mechanics didn't work correctly. So they had to change them. So that once they fixed the bugs, the boss went from being really hard to really easy. So there's a compromise you can do between them. Trying to remember. I think it was the fish lady. What's her name?
Lady Vash.
I think she had a bug, right? And there's a couple different versions of her fight. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's right.
Do you guys have more information on that? Unfortunately, I don't have it.
I can tell you that with like Kael'thas and there's a couple. They basically had it nerfed twice before it got a lot of. I mean, most people were getting it through. I think after the first nerf, and I think this is like people were. I mean, it was, and again, the people I rated with, they were among the best, and it was just Kael'thas was brutal. Very.
Yeah, his
I mean,
ads. His
yeah.
ads were basically bosses by themselves. Like, oh hey, we're all dead.
Oh, and then they're gonna res, and that was where you quickly like, okay, we need to have this person die over here. This person needs to like highlight. So you like have to drag them on certain spots. You have to have multiple tanks to like do things. You have to have interrupts. You know, you have to have. There was like it was, and when they all suddenly like it was bad.
Unfair to have them. You fight all four of them once, but not fair.
It was, and then the killer thing about that fight was that first of all, it's just long. Just even now running it because I go back to try to get the mount, Ashes of Valar that I still have never gotten. So on multiple tunes, like every week, it's just not happening. So at any rate, but you would go through and then you'd finally kill them. You've killed all the weapons. You've fought them one at a time, and then there's like this egg, and then you have to like tank this like little phoenix. So there's all these things. So you'd go through this really long encounter, and if you wiped, rinse, repeat. That was also like Highjaw. Highjaw is basically just wave after wave after wave after wave. You die, you're starting over again, like that boss of wave one. And it was just brutal. So there were some things that were impossible. The biggest one that was really really bad was Sunwell. Sunwell was originally, if I actually have.
Yes.
Yeah, dude, I have actually the Burning Crusade Special Edition that has, or no, the Wrath of Lich King Special Edition. It has Sunwell as like a raid on the box, which means that Sunwell was not supposed to be part of Burning Crusade, but Burning Crusade, yeah, it wasn't. So they just were like, "Oops, we have nothing for our community." Well, Sunwell's ready. And when Sunwell opened up that island, it was so cool. It became phase, and you were fighting. We'd never seen anything like that, and you're trying to like develop it. It was like Sunwell Plateau. Whoa! Like props. That was like game changing, like phasing. Like people were like, "We've never seen this." It was so cool.
It was fun.
It was cool, and then you could pay 1,000 gold, which again is a fortune to get the title from them. And so like if you had 1,000 gold to burn, people were like, you had 1,000. I mean, 1,000 gold was so much money. Like who would throw away 1,000 gold for a title, right? But it was an impossible raid. There were certain walls that
So
very
I think
few
Muru
guilds.
was one of them.
Yes.
I'm trying to find them as
Where was the second one?
There was a bunch of them.
Yeah.
So, I know Muru. Is that one of the ones that had a bug in it that you had to fix the bug before it was actually killed?
No, it was impossible. Number one guild in the time was Warstorm. They could not do it. They could not do it. It was
What
impossible.
was stopping them from doing it?
It was just
Too much health.
Exactly. We could not do mathematically. They actually broke it down. I had a buddy in that guild, multiple buddies, and they actually proved to Blizzard, because Blizzard was like, no, you guys can do it. You're just not. They actually did the math and provided to Blizzard. Said there's no way we can do this. We are doing it perfect. Like we do all the mechanics perfect. We cannot generate the amount of DPS. We all have the best gear we could possibly have. It was impossible.
Do you think that with today's DPS we'll be able to kill it?
Not in the original form.
Pre nerfed Maru?
No. Because it was yeah.
Post nerf? Oh my god. They
What kind
nerfed
of
them so
DPS
hard.
did you need to do in order to down? Does anyone know?
It
Because
was,
I know
don't
we
know
pull some pretty gnarly
ridiculous.
numbers now. Like we're pulling like
yeah.
10 times what we did in regular classic. I'm just curious.
Yes, but the difference between like vanilla and BC, what ended up happening is vanilla, like even the population growth was not as big. Like BC, the game blew up, and you had people coming from EverQuest, you had people coming from Star Wars Galaxies, you have people who actually raided and did raid content came because they're like, wow, this game. And they rated. Now, they complained about, the customizations of the character, blah, 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 blah. They complained about a lot of things, but the raids itself were really well done. And they enjoyed the experience, and it was, again, I had friends who did calculus to, like, do like figuring out which buffs or like what do the rotations. There, BC had a whole other caliber of raiders that did not exist in like vanilla. It just did not exist. So you have a much more educated. I think that's the beginning of the very educated raiders was BC. That it's just like modern day raiders. I don't even think we have raiders that like that back then. There was like serious raiders. Like literally, they proved to like Blizzard, this is impossible. Here's the data, and
Well,
Blizzard relented.
I do think that the private servers did do the same thing it did with Classic, where they do have way inflated numbers and stuff. And I know that private servers was intentionally made harder than the original TBC for the reasons that the numbers get crazy. But I know there's versions of the boss that are literally just cracked out. Like I'm trying to remember which boss is in March mode.
Well,
One of them would just the healing would. I think it's. I'm trying to remember if it's which boss is. You're basically the healers would get aggro throughout the entire fight. You couldn't attack the boss for some of the fight, and then once you finally unlocked him, he came out. He just went straight for all your healers and killed them all. So then there was no way for you guys to beat it because they kept going on and taking out all your healers, and it became a DPS check of can you kill him before he kills your raid.
There is a fight. I don't think it's BC. I think it's Wrath, where you have to. The goal is to heal the dragon all the way to full.
That's in Arthas's raid, Ice Crown Citadel. Yeah. You actually like went through this portal, so you had to fly around, get all these orbs, which boosted your healing, and then you pop out, and like the numbers you would heal, it was like literally, I had like. In BC, they're like, "Hey Rick, we heard about a fight. That's going to be your fight. Like, there's supposed to be a healing fight coming up." And I don't know how people got their data back then. And so that was like, and I was just like, okay, well, whatever. So when they actually released the information for Ice Crown Citadel, they're like, "Oh, Rick, the healing fight's here." And I was like, "Wait, what?" And so then when we got to the fight, I was like, it was just so exciting, and I was like. Just like those huge numbers, the healing numbers. Oh, it was so exciting. Yeah, it was good. Yeah, I forget the name of that dragon. Like that starts with a V, maybe. But yeah. But that's Wrath.
Oh, okay, so it looks like I'm just going off of here. It says Kel'Thas was one of the most difficult fights.
That was brutal. They
Because
had to
the
nerf
5
it.
bosses. I remember that. Yeah. I remember wiping on him a lot. So that's one of the only bosses I remember.
Another one that was really hard, Archimond was really hard because there were certain things so basically Archimond's the last boss in Hyjal, and he gets
don't crater. Just don't crater.
So he hits the entire raid, and you all go flying, whee! And you have to have this item equipped that you basically time at the right time. So if you had any latency issues, you are going to screw the whole raid. And so you had to hit it at the right time, and then it's basically like a priest levitation. You float down. But the problem was, sometimes you would land in a weird spot. Like there was this one, like Moonwell or like whatever, that if like there's certain things that you would it didn't matter. You would create like you'd hit and every different type of class would do like a different buff. So if multiple people did it was like you could just cause a wipe. And I think was it the priest that did silence? It was the priest was horrible. If the priest that was I think one of the worst ones. And people were like, it was a priest. It was like I'm like it's not me. It was not this guy. But yeah,
that levitation item. It was literally you get knocked up way in the air, and the fall damage, if you did nothing, it was enough to kill you.
Yeah.
And the levitation item, it literally only lasts
a few seconds, like maybe 4 seconds,
like a second.
Something so short.
Not even that. It's like a second or 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And then you resume your fall. So if you do it too soon, you still die. You do it too late, you die.
Yeah. That was one of the issues is you were like depending on where you got hit, so you had to kind of pay attention to what was behind you. But sometimes you still there's different things. So there's definitely different fixes that they had to do. I'm okay if they fix those things. Like that's totally okay. Fix Muru, fix KT, that's totally fine. Fix the bugs for Lady Vash. Brutalis, that is a freaking wall. Holy cow!
I want those walls. It would for example, with retail, I strongly believe the way the raid should be is you have normal, you have heroic, and you have Mythic. Mythic's not meant for everybody.
Yeah.
Mythic's meant only for a few. And if you even get a few Mythic kills, you should feel good about yourself. And I think Mythic should be very, very difficult.
Yeah.
And I think Heroic should be difficult, so you still feel accomplished when you kill it. Obviously, it doesn't step to Mythic. And then you get Normal, which I think should be basically like Lair looking for raid. It's just a very easy version of the boss fights. You get to run through it. Yeah, you got to work for a little bit. Maybe 1 or 2 hard bosses in there. So when it comes to TBC, I am hoping these pre-nerf bosses, like when we got to Cthulhu, dude, I was so disappointed.
Very
This
easy.
was the hardest fight in classic history.
Yeah.
And we went in there and we killed it with effortlessly. And then I was so
Second
like,
time, I think the first time we was like, oh shit. I think it was second pull or third pull. It was
second or third pull.
Yeah, it was like, and we're like, oh. It was like,
I was topping the meter the entire way through that. I was so pumped for AQ. And when we got there, I was like, this is a joke. I was like, this is a joke. We ran through all these. We killed all the bosses the first day, except for like 2. And they were the extra bosses, I guess, if you want to call them extra bosses. So we went back then the next day and we went and killed them.
Hardest part of AQ40 was the Cthulhu trash. That was it.
Yeah, I was so disappointed in that. So when we get the TBC, if there's a hard boss, I want to struggle.
Yeah.
And if it's broken, it'd be even comical. It'd be like, oh my god, he's just going around wrecking all our healers and nothing we can do about it. So, and it'd be fun to find a cool way to get around that, right?
Yeah. Okay.
See,
you know what?
You know?
So and so go survival. See if you can put down some traps, because that's what we did back then. We literally were figuring it out. And again, it was a tight-lipped community because, again, you're competing with people, and there were freaking spies back then. Like, there were like people like you had to be careful. Like, oh, and then if you got a bad name, you got cut out of the community. It was just like you couldn't afford it. Like, it was, and that's why the community. I love that. Like, you gotta, like, your name is me. So that's why I don't like name changes. I don't think server transfers. Server transfer I think is okay, but I don't think like faction changes. I don't think that's cool, because then you get like,
faction name change. I'm with you on that. I don't want to see any because let's be honest. Like on our server, that one mage. Remember the mage that messed with me? Hardcore PvPer. I'm gonna be the wrong spec and underperforming raid. I'm a PvPer. You're a PvE snub. I'm like, okay, let's duel. And I beat him up, 100% health.
he was PvP and you were PvP. Yeah,
I was on complete PvE spec. I completely trashed him in front of the whole server. So then what he had to do, he had a server transfer, right? So I don't want to say like, oh no, he has to stay here with me forever now. I get to torment him for the rest of the classic. Correct. But so maybe he learned from that. Maybe he went to the next server and became a very humble guy. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
Maybe he changed his spec and actually respect the raid leader that he went to the next raid leader.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean. But I don't want to see him be able to go Alliance. Like, don't do that.
Exactly.
Go some other server.
I think he was
wants to go
Alliance
anyways.
Yeah, you fit perfectly with Alliance.
I know, dude. It was crap on the Alliance. Sorry if you're an Alliance player, but my God, you guys need some help.
One sec, guys. Help. I'll be right back.
I'll be back. Sorry. We on bathroom breaks now. Yeah. So I don't know. I definitely don't see that. I definitely want to see that dual spec though. For that reason, the world PvP. I don't want to get stuck out there as prot. That's gonna suck. And I did that, and I hated it when I was a warrior. I had to be prot warrior, and it was just like, man, if I didn't have people with me, I was just a complete target. I could be annoying, last a while, but I'm gonna lose the fight.
Oh, I actually kind of enjoyed. One of the things I did actually like was playing PvP as a prot warrior. I actually thought that was kind of fun because as I would always PvP with a whole group of buddies, I would be the guy that was literally unkillable. I just charge in, swing away. I wouldn't do any damage or anything, but I would be unkillable. And everyone would try to get me, and I'm like, I'm just standing here getting healed. Whack, whack, shield, sword, shield.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember when, because there used to be a thing, I think it was in Wrath, where you took damage, and the more damage you took, the more amplified your damage. It was the compensate for threat. So what happened was, I remember in PvP, you get a PvP gear on, so it's hard for them to kill you already, and then you get that. So if you live long enough, your damage got ramped up so much, you were like one-shotting people with shield slam. I think it was in Wrath. Oh, I was having a blast. I'm trying to remember what it was. Yeah, that was a crazy time. Wrath is going to be off the hook. So
one thing I wanted to mention was I think I was talking to you about this the other night, Tarnish, was, we had the normal version of dungeons in BC, and then we had the heroic dungeons. I was hoping that we would get something, I mean, obviously we're not going to, but get something like similar for the raids, is to have a normal version of the raids and also a heroic version where it would either be like pre-nerf or just a flat-out version. So the more min-max guilds could have a bigger challenge to go for.
Well,
I like that,
I
but the
think
problem is, what's the reward for it? Like, in retail you have mythic level gear, which honestly is going away. That's been going away for a while. So it's like the gear is supposed to be the hardest difficult. It gives you something special. It would need to give you something like a title amount.
Bye, Rick.
Rick got ganked again.
Jumping on my mount. Hold on, I came back. I'm coming back. Kind of. Yeah, there we go. Every 20 minutes I have to wake it up.
Yeah, so I don't know. So I don't know. I would rather us see the pre-nerf and get the pre-nerf maybe for the first week, and then they change it if people are struggling with it. If people are killing it, I would say just leave it, because the people are killing it. Screw it. Let them kill it. And like Muru, like maybe we do have the damage. Maybe we do. Maybe it's hard, but we can do it.
I can tell you my Muru experience. When the fight first starts, how Muru goes is he summons ads and he puts this giant void zone in front of him. After like 45 seconds, he puts this massive void zone. So you have the melee stuff has to go out and start killing ads, and the range does the damage. The idea is the first 45 seconds just is an absolute nuke fest on Murray. You do as much damage as you can. You blow all your cooldowns. You do just absolute unload on the guy. Pre-nerf, we got Murray to like in the low 80s for his total health percent-wise. It was like low 80%. Post-Murray, we literally dropped him below 20% health in the first 45 seconds. So
they over-nerfed it.
It was dramatically nerfed. It was completely different fight.
Well, and what happened was they nerfed it. Still was they could no one could really do it. They nerfed it again. It was, very few people got through it. Then they kept nerfing it because they were trying to make it easier and easier. And then
nerfed multiple times.
Yeah, what ends up happening is they eventually get to the point where they're like, okay, we're gonna get rid of all the attunements. We're gonna make all these bosses really easy. And what I don't understand is why they kept peeling the banana. It's like, you know what? I don't need to have peel all the entire banana to eat it. Like it's okay for you to to make it so I can take a bite, but it was like literally they took away all the difficulty. Were like just what they were trying to do is because so few people were in Black Temple, no one got to really get that experience with Illidan. So they were they just wanted people to see their game and experience their game. And people were hitting their head against this wall because it was incredibly difficult. And I think that you're so right. You hit on something that was very important. We have we have a very smart community now. I think Wrath of Lich King, people got smart. There's great catarators. There's all these people. We're getting all these people. There's not a lot of weak links. You can get a group of 25 people that are incredible. I don't think that we need you to nerf it as much as you did. I think we could probably get it. After maybe that first nerf, let's put it there, and if we need to make an adjustment, great. But I'm hoping it's not just. I'm
wondering if that's the one that the healers kept getting the aggro, because when you get the shields up, you can't hurt them. So then the healers would heal the raid like normal, but then his threat was still going up for the healer aggro. So they had to adjust it somehow so that the healers wouldn't get aggro, right? Because then as soon as he come out, he just go and chop down all the healers.
I don't remember that. No, Muru's that little pixel elemental thing, it's in the middle of the
it's like the
Shadow
Naru
City.
The Naru.
Yeah.
Naru
I remember killing him.
He doesn't do an awful lot on his own. It's the
you have to spread out. So you enter in, there's like a stairwell, and you have to spread out. There's that's the fight where if you move,
he just
you kill the raid. So you can't basically. It's but it was it was There's just so many things that could go wrong, and you're like.
So let's fast forward. Let's pretend that we went through the Classic, we went through TBC, and let's say there's a little bit of a content drought as they're getting Wrath ready. Would you like to see a Classic Plus be released?
Yes, absolutely.
And then if they did Classic Plus, what are things you would like to see added?
I mean, we're assuming Classic Plus. You mean like totally new content for the classic zones
Well, there's a lot
and
of
the
things they
air.
do.
Okay.
Like for example, they could do
I
like
got some.
this is an idea that I think S-Fan actually thought of. I thought it was a really cool idea. So I'm gonna take his idea and go a little bit farther with it. But his idea was so in the beta for Classic, they had different little level caps where they get to like level 30 and they're stuck there. So people were starting to twink out and get so in game became level 30. So you get all these gear and whatever. And but my thing is, wouldn't it be cool if they made 30 the cap and turned those 30 dungeons into raids and made them harder? And then now and then once you finish clearing that raid, they let you level up to 40. Then they make all those 40 dungeons raids. And you need to clear all those raids. And they add mechanics, add things to the raid boss, to the bosses, and make them
That's
actual
cool.
raids instead of dungeons. And wouldn't that be a cool, new, unique experience? And then you still get all the end game stuff without world buffs.
Yeah, that could be cool. The other thing I think that if they had just finished the expansion like they were going to, you could literally see that in South Winter Spring, they had plans and intentions for you to go into Hyjal. You actually can see this wooden thing, and you can see through where you could literally like. It's like, so what was that supposed to be? Because eventually,
So what that was supposed to be is Cataclysm. Was what that was supposed to be.
well, no, because Cataclysm, that whole southern area, um, is now part of, because the whole southern area where you go in, like that whole area is no longer even like Winter Spring gets cut off on the bottom, right? So that's all part of
But what
Hyjal,
I'm saying is, you go into Hyjal. So what they did instead of doing the portal system, is they just made Hyjal up
its own
there.
zone.
But Cataclysm is the continuation of Vanilla. All that content they were gonna make, they made it into Cataclysm.
See, but here's the thing: it would have been cool. So if Classic Plus open up Hyjal, open up zones that maybe you don't have to make destroy and like burn everything down, but like that would have been cool because there's areas on the map that we never got to. We only get to see it when the world is destroyed. Like it would actually be
Yeah,
nice to actually at level 60, like let's go ahead and go into Hyjal. Let's go into the what's that nether the
it
not
would
the
be really hard to do Cataclysm content with Vanilla though. That would be really hard.
I mean, but I mean, obviously because they didn't even save their classic servers originally. When I mean, they actually had to go back and redo everything. So maybe this is why it's like you're asking for too much. But honestly, it would be cool to actually experience like
Well,
what they had all planned originally. Because there's things that they never released.
they
That
could have
they,
changed. Like they could make it easier, dumbed down version, or they could just honestly, they could just instead of doing Cataclysm, they could just remake that content in a classic version, I guess.
yeah, before it's all destroyed and burned. Like, wouldn't it be cool to see Hyjal in its natural form with like the actual, the lore and the history and the actual quest, like what's going on at level 60. Like I don't want to see level 85 version. I don't want like that's level 85. That's when
Well, the thing is, the baseline of the story is going to be the same because that is what Cataclysm game. A lot of the content from Cataclysm was what they were going to continue to do
yeah.
in Vanilla. They took the plot, so that's why Ragnaros returns. Ragnaros gets resurrected,
Hmm.
and that was actually the hardest fight in
Yeah.
all of Cataclysm was Ragnaros. It actually is a really hard fight.
See, and that's
Heroic
so
Rag was ridiculous.
Ragnaros, right? So in our experience, gets resurrected in Molten Core. So at that time, though, you would still have the druids. Maybe that druid who became, corrupted, and he became like you fight him in the Firelands. It would have been cool if actually like you're doing quests for him and you're helping him. You're like, oh my gosh, I know what happens to you. It would be neat to actually see the zones untouched, and then when Cataclysm comes, what a transformation! It's like, wow, dude, you become evil because basically we have all these villains in Cataclysm that they just came out of nowhere because I never got to go to those
Well,
zones.
that is part of the issue because like Deathwing is mentioned in Classic and a couple of quests, but you have to read the quest. No one read the quest.
Hmm.
Um, and then like so they planned this in Classic. They mentioned it. Like there's a lore quest where it just takes you around the world. I did it when you were offline, and I was waiting for you. I think you did the same thing for me. Like when we couldn't meet up, we did little quests like that. That was one of them, and it talks about Deathwing. It talks about a lot of the lore that would have happened for us. It happens in Cataclysm, but it could be down the line in Classic. You wouldn't have known. right?
Mhm.
And then we see that portal down south in the Winter Spring. I think there's another one. Where's the other portal at? There's 2 portals.
Yeah, because
There's one in Winter
had to
Spring.
walk
The other
in.
one's in the black, the where the dark portal is. It's
Oh,
with
is
all
it?
the
Okay. Oh, you're right. Yeah, it is. It's down south, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. So those are the 2 portals. Those are 2 areas where we're like, oh, what the heck. So in Cataclysm, that happens for us, but we end up going to TBC instead, and then which honestly makes better storytelling because we just defeated Ragnaros in the beginning of the expansion, and then you want to tell me towards the end of the expansion, Deathwing comes out and then he freaking resurrects
Well, and
Ragnaros. We gotta kill him all
I'm
over again.
not for Deathwing. I think if they're gonna like classic, I want to see so from 60 to 85, however many years that is. Different kings pass away. We have different shifts in leadership and blah 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 blah. All that stuff's happening, right? So there's definitely a span of years between when we're playing at level 60 and when we're playing at level 85. It would be
Did we lose
nice.
anyone in Wrath? Did we lose a leader?
Um,
I don't think
when
so.
All
did
We
right.
lost
Yeah.
the
the
human
guy
king?
who yeah.
The human king was originally how many human kings did they go through? There was I'm now Horde, so I don't even remember there. There's obviously Anduin is the current one. Before him, what was his
It
father?
was his
Ren,
father. Yeah, I
and
think it was
then
Ren's name.
and then
Gladiator.
so then is he in charge of the alliance right now, or is it his dad?
I know for a while, at least in the books, I think it was a book. He went somewhere else, and he fought as a gladiator. And I know that's his whole story. And he's a really
Okay,
badass.
so it's his.
Apparently.
So basically, it's Anduin's grandfather who's in charge of the alliance right now, or is it someone?
Well,
This is where I'm fuzzy.
all I know, because I'm not really an alliance player,
Yeah.
is that he comes back in Wrath. I know he's there in Wrath. I don't know if he's there in TBC. I know he's there in Wrath because you see him in TOC. And he comes in, and him and Garrosh are going back and forth, and it's badass. Because Garrosh is a badass, he's a badass. I'm like, yo, let these dudes fight right now. Like, let them fight. I want to see who wins, right? But yeah, no. So it played out the way it did, but that's just what
So
So I don't know. I don't think we lose too many leaders until the newer stuff though.
For me, what I like to see for Classic Plus is like new content for level 60. Like
yes, that's what
a tier 4 content, like what Karazhan was originally going to be for Classic. To actually see kind of a Classic expansion that expands on the level 60 build. Like, I'm not sure how to phrase this properly. Like actually adding in a new Nax, basically a new raid content, a new dungeon, just expanding on actual vanilla.
Yeah.
And not necessarily a new expansion, but just continuing what vanilla was.
I agree. I think that would have been cool, and I think there's a couple places you can do that. I think there's that dwarven dungeon, and that basically becomes a dungeon later. But why can't that be a raid at 60? And I forget what that's called, Tol Baral or something like that. So I think there's places in the world that it would make sense that you could have. I think it'd be really cool to see like new 60 level content that would reinvigorate. Because then, if you want to have classic servers and you want to have TBC servers, and people are gonna want to keep playing classic, it's like, oh, there's new content. Like it, why can't they keep going with it? Like I think that'd be pretty cool. I
My
like those kind
question
of.
is, do we trust them to make Classic Plus?
That is an interesting question, isn't it?
I honestly like the reason why I was against Classic Plus is because one, I don't think they can do it. I think they'll ruin it. And then two, I'm scared to death of how they're gonna ruin TBC. Which would really suck. Because they ruin TBC, they know they're gonna mess up Wrath. And then that means Classic is done, and that takes up. Well, I mean, I guess it's good because New World's coming out. We got other MMOs coming out. We could try those, but the thing is,
Yeah.
Classic has given us something to play, that gives us back a little bit of hope and reminds us of where we came from, really. Because I know a lot of us have the nostalgia, but we don't really know exactly what it was like. And seeing Classic reinforce my beliefs on how I ran my guild. So my guild was always, I guess, an old school guild, is what people kept classifying my guild as. So the community being the main point of the guild, So when you come to Classic, you realize how important a guild is. If you ever play without a guild, you know what it's like not having a guild. It is horrible. It's hard to get anything done. When you have a guild, oh, right, you know, friends, and then they help you. But even if you join a new guild and you don't know anybody, and like no one wants to help you, like it's horrible, right? So being in a guild where and retail where I make everyone play together, it's like the closest thing I can get to being like the way it is and Classic. So I forgot where I was going with this, but yeah. I don't trust Blizzard to make Classic Plus. I think they'll mess it up. And I'm like I said, scared that they're gonna mess everything else up.
I think that's a good topic like for another time because I know we've been going at this for like 2 hours now. But there is a difference between Blizzard and Activision, who bought Blizzard at the end of Wrath.
Blizzard versus Activision Blizzard.
Correct. There is definitely a difference. And I think that we could probably talk a whole other session on those things. But yeah, that's like, man, like I could probably go a whole other 2 hours, but I know our viewers were probably like, man, like, and I think we should maybe like make another chapter for that.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to get more in depth on the boss fights. So it's kind of my bad for not writing that down. I know I talked to you about it before we started the stream,
Yeah.
but does anyone else have anything to add about TBC or Classic that we want to talk about?
Parting thoughts. I think that's good. Everyone share their parting thoughts. Con, you want to go first?
I'm kind of well, I from what we're being told about the beta testers, from the beta testers, is that there is definitely a substantial difficulty increase in the content that they've been playing so far, which is something I was definitely hoping for. Something I was hoping for originally for Classic, but then we've kind of learned how the game works, what we need to do, and that kind of was in part. It killed my expectations for Classic. I was hoping for, oh, it's gonna be so much fun trying to do all these raids again and struggling, and then we get in there, we just okay, world buffs, consumes, knock it out, next raid, and that was a little disappointing. And with the supposed difficulty increase of Burning Crusade, I'm worried that we know so much about Burning Crusade and we had so much time to practice on private servers. I'm worried that it's going to kind of repeat, especially if you have things like the drum issue where, yep, we have 20 leatherworkers, everyone's using drums, it's our new world buff, so we're just going to go in there, smash the content, we're done.
Cool. Those are great thoughts. So I think kind of even just adding on a little to Conan and sharing some of my original thoughts as well is I think that if they can listen and actually make these adjustments, I don't want the fixes to be, oh, here's some items to buy, here's some new things. That's not fixing anything. No one's asking for that. I guess my best example would be like, hey, I have my front door is broken. Can you come fix it? And then the blacksmith comes and he like changes all the locks in every other door in my house really crappily. And then now I'm locked out of my bedroom. I'm locked out. I can't go through my backyard because that door won't open. I'm like, you didn't even touch my front door. Like if Activision Blizzard like can't fix what actually needs to be fixed, and they're fixing things that don't need to be fixed, like, oh, we're going to just make everything very simple. We're going to make you guys super strong. And here's ways that you can cheat the system. Let's make it easier for botters. Like, those are things that no one's asking for. So that is a great question. Can we trust Activision Blizzard to get this off the ground and make it the game that we really want to experience? Because Classic WoW, I really think that it was underwhelming. It is underwhelming. We wanted to see more. The question is, can Activision Blizzard give us more? And that's my hope. I hope they do. But again, I think Charles had a great question there. Can they do it?
Yeah, for me, it's just doing TBC without ruining what made it great. I just hope they can do that. Not to mess with it too much. Let's keep all the retail stuff to retail. Play with that all you want. Let's try and keep it Classic versus retail. Keep them completely different. Obviously, they need to fix retail, so they're probably going to make some comparisons to Classic, but don't mess with Classic because it works. It works the way it is. If you mess with it too much, you're gonna break it. Some small quality of life changes are nice. Which actually brought me up to one thing I want to see change. I totally forgot about this. I want the Resto Druid flight form that costs gold to prevent from people just grabbing flight form and going around and mass bodying. If you guys want to make comments about that, you can. But for me, it's just all about combating the bots, controlling the bots, controlling Classic, making Classic better, and not implementing anything that's not necessary. But like I said, some quality of life changes can be good. So it's hard what we're asking. I know it is because we're asking for quality of life changes like dual spec, but then we're saying no to faction changes, and we're saying no to 58 boosts, and we're saying no to recruit a friend, and we're saying no to all these other things. So it's hard because from their perspective, I'm sure it's really hard for them to look down and be like, "What do you guys want?" Okay, well if you guys want that kind of stuff, we got tons of that. No. We only want specific things.
Yeah.
So I know it's probably really hard for them to
I mean, at the end of the day, they want to make money. So
yeah, which I think you know what, Classic's already done that for you. Now it doubles your player base, more than doubles your player base when you launch Classic, and the majority of your player base right now is playing Classic. So obviously it's already doing that. You don't need to mess with it.
Yeah.
If you want to do sales or stuff like that, do that on retail. Plenty of people will buy it. That's it for me though, guys. I think that was a good one. Anything you have to talk about? You guys have any comments about the Druid boost or anything? Or the Druids?
I like that that they get it for free. It's like, okay, so we know that Paladins and Warlocks getting their mounts for a lot cheaper. They still had to pay something though, and they still had to provide materials. I think that the flight form for Druid, like, sting it to do the same thing you do to the Paladins. They have to pay 350 gold. They have to get all these items. Why not do that to a Druid? So that way the bots, because I can tell you, I remember like, oh my gosh, there's a flower. Ha, kill you. Okay. Oh shoot. Okay, yeah, flower, and then little Druid. Bloop. I'm like, no, and then the Druid leaves. I'm like, like it's not cool. So I think there are issues like we're not gonna do it till phase 3, and then we'll let them. Okay, so then the bots are gonna all come on in phase 3. So I really think you're right. A cost would be a good change for a Druid.
Well, there is talks of making it phase 1. I heard that recently.
A cost would be a good thing then.
Talking about bodying, that would help reduce that.
Yeah,
for sure. Con, do you concur? I think it concurs.
I don't know. I don't know if that would actually solve the botting issue. It might make it less efficient, but remember, botting, their goals are to make gold. I think that they would do is make some gold, pay it, and then go right back to making more gold. So I don't think that'd be enough to.
It's a gold sink. That's all it is. My question is, will they even use druids? Because they can make a level 1 run through the goddamn planet, and just grab their herbs and mines from underneath the ground. So
probably not, because Beastmaster hunters are so powerful in BC, and that's usually what they're farming on right now. So probably not. Not for sure though.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we did our closing statements. We talked about a whole lot of stuff. Next time I'm gonna get the boss information. We can talk about that.
Boss time.
Maybe we'll do a podcast just on raid bosses and tiers.
That'd be cool.
Maybe some of the gear that we like, what versions of the gear, because I'm sure there's some things that change.
More or less.
So, but for Classic going into TBC, I think this was a wrap. I think that was a good one. Again, become a MMO Avenger, guys. Subscribe, support us, and let's save MMOs, guys.
That's right, guys. All right.
Bye.
We're out.
Peace out.